A node that can help us add some unique looks to a substance material is the curve node. As with this, we have the ability to use a profile spline or curve in order to make adjustments and edits to other nodes. With our graph view centered up then on the O4 curve pin, let's take a look at what this can do. In fact, so that you don't have to watch me remake the curve, we will simply modify the node that we already have so as to see how the controls work. After double-clicking on it then, we are greeted with a large square area that has several controls and buttons associated with it. This node does require an input to function, and so, as you can see, we are using a gradient polygon 2 node to essentially remap colours using the curve that we see in the square. Now be sure to keep an eye on this area throughout the exercise to see how the curve affects the result. As we look at the position and placement of the curve points that we have, and then compare them to the node output in the 2D view, you can hopefully see the correlation between them. To add a point to the curve, we simply pick our spot and double-click. In fact, we don't even need to click on the existing curve line, so let's just press Ctrl+Z there, and instead double-click somewhere above the line. And as you can see, the point still gets added and the curve updates. To move the point, we simply place our cursor over it and then click and drag like so. Or we can click on the point and use the two triangle handles that appear in the UI in order to be a little more precise. To remove a point, we just click to select it and then press either the delete or backspace keys. And of course, we are by no means limited to using the controls looked at here on just a single point. If we click a few times to add several points, we can left click and drag a marquee around them and then move them all at once if we like. Knowing how to add and move points is good, but we also need to know how to change the way in which they interpolate on the curve. And so let's again select one of them, and then come to the top of the UI where we see several spline icons that help us control the interpolation for that particular point. Notice also that the new points we created all have Bezier handles on them, which, if I left click and drag in the curve view, can also be manipulated to give us the curve shape that we want. Now the first button here resets the handles back to their default position, and so after making that change, if I just click that, we see the handle reset so that I can go about making a new, perhaps more precise edit. You will also have noticed that as I dragged there, both handles on the point updated, which is due in part to this next option, which locks them together. If I press this though, the currently selected curve point breaks and now has independently adjustable handles. Let's just delete that point, select the next one along, and then position it so that we have a bump or hill-like profile on the spline, as we can use the next three controls to change how this point will interpolate both to the left and to the right. The first one here creates corner or linear type interpolation on the left with a curve on the right. The next gives us the reverse or opposite of this, whilst the last will give us sharp corners on both sides of the curve. Finally, we have some alignment controls that can be accessed via a right click, and so if we delete the newly added points, and then after coming to the original point select two or more of them, we can right click, and then start aligning these to each other, like so, which is perfect if we want to create more precise or less organic looking effects using this node. As you can see then, the curve node gives us lots of control over how an input node's values are being mapped. In fact, it would be good to keep in mind that we can feed a full color input into the curve node, as we can make the same type of adjustments there as we have seen here, only this time on the individual color channels.